How is it going, everybody? This is RBT coming at you with Friday questions and answers, episode 34, 33, 30, 34. Yeah, it's episode 34 already. And as you see, I did change the setup a little bit. The glare from my window is horrible, absolutely horrible. So I switched it up a little bit today, and hopefully the glare is not bad at all. But anyways, if you're new to the series, as always, leave a question in the comment section below so you are featured in next week's episode. And with that said, be sure to leave a like in this video if I answered your question, or leave a like if you ask a question. It can be about anything sports related, my life, anything you want to ask, I will be sure to answer. So let's get right into this for another episode. Buckeye Fan 2013 asks, if you were to have a son, what would you name him? And have you ever been to a Titans game? Ooh, if I were to have a son, hopefully that's not anytime soon, but if I was to have a son, what would his name be? Man, I have no clue. One of my cousins was gonna name his son River. That sounds like a pretty cool name, River. Frick, I have no clue. I have not put one thought into that whatsoever. I have no clue. Have I ever been to a Titans game? Yes, I actually have. Went to the opening game last season against the Patriots. That was my first Titans game, and I hope to go back soon. Jack Thau asks, who else has a big chance to win the national championship besides Alabama? Let's see. You have Oregon, obviously, Stanford, the winner out of that game. And the winner of Florida State, Clemson, and the winner of it's pretty much out of the ACC schools, it's really like a three-team playoff, I guess you could say. You have the winner of Florida State and Clemson, and the winner of those two teams in Miami. Whoever wins out of the Florida State Clemson matchup versus Miami, whoever wins out of that really has a good chance as well. And Louisville too. I still think Louisville has a good chance because I think some teams can lose. Some teams that are way up there obviously will end up losing, I believe. Alright, Daniel Perry says, when do you think Texas will be relevant again in college football? I think it's right around the corner, not only because of Mac Brown is almost positively going to step down after the season. They're getting a new coach. They have a guy named Tyrone Swoops who really reminds me of Vince Young, and that's what Texas has been lacking. It's been great quarterback play. I mean, if you're a school like Texas, you produce so many good quarterbacks that come from the state that end up going to the NFL and starting the NFL. So many quarterbacks that's starting right now is from the state of Texas, and they can't get a starting quarterback for themselves. I think they have one in Tyrone Swoops. I think he'll be able to be the playmaker they need to bring back not necessarily the glory days, but continue to steadily progress to get back up to the top in the country. And good and new coaching, which obviously I believe will be. They can get almost any coach they want, and which will obviously be a good coach. So new coaching and the new quarterback Tyrone Swoops will make a big difference for Texas. And I would say it really depends on how you define relevant as in top 10, top 5 in the country year in year out. Maybe 3 years, 4 years, but relevant as in a competitive team that can win each and every week. I could say early as next year, really. Jake Fredericks asks, what are your thoughts on Jadeveon Clowney's start? It's pretty pathetic, honestly. I mean, you're a college football player, you're on a team, and you're still pussing out of games, and it's sad. I mean, I know the logic behind it. I know he doesn't want to get hurt, but hey, man, you're gonna have to play with injuries sooner or later. That just shows he's scared. That really, I mean, if you're a real football player and you don't want to play just because you're scared of getting hurt, I would not want you on my team. And he's a great player, best player in the country, even though he hasn't played like it. I'm not sure his intangibles are there. I'm not sure if he's a guy I want to have on my team. Mega UJ Dawes asks, Chick-fil-A or Zaxby's, have you ever been to a Tennessee Oilers game? No, I've never been to an Oilers game. I've been to a Titans game. Wait, I'm confused. Tennessee Oilers. They were the Houston Oilers. They're now the Tennessee Titans. I'm confused there. But no, I've been to a Titans game, not a Houston Oilers game. And Chick-fil-A or Zaxby's. Oh God, it depends really on the day. It depends on what type of sauce I'm in the mood for. If I'm in for chicken strips and the Zaxby sauce, which is amazing, or Chick-fil-A and their sweet barbecue sauce. It just depends. I love both of them. Today, actually, I ate Chick-fil-A at our student center. We have a Chick-fil-A, and I went there today. Okay, and Nintendo Man 888 asked, "Will you buy me a PS4 for my birthday? I will love you forever." No, I won't, because you're Asian. That's one of my friends. He reminds me of a flamingo. Cormac Shooty. I forget how to say her name. How did Maryland lose 63 to nothing? Does the ACC have a good chance of getting a team in the national championship game? I really don't know. They were in it early on. A couple mistakes led to big, long scoring drives by Florida State, which pretty much took Maryland out of the game. C.J. Brown did not have the big game that a lot of people expected. That's Maryland's quarterback, who's actually a pretty good quarterback. They just really didn't show up. Couldn't get any big plays. Could not stop Jameis Winston. He had a great game. So it's just a bunch of things went against Maryland, and Florida State had another good game. And does the ACC have a good chance? It depends on what they do in the Pac-12. If Washington loses today, if Washington wins tomorrow, that boosts the ACC chances a lot, and by a lot I mean a lot. And because I think more than likely either a team like UCLA or Oregon or maybe somebody else off the radar could upset Stanford. I think that could be Oregon, and Washington already has a loss, so they're pretty much out of it. So hopefully the refs won't be an implication in the game tomorrow. But you can't sleep on UCLA either. UCLA could be a team to make it all the way, but they've had some struggles so far. But I don't know. It's going to be tough for the ACC because not only do they have to come out of the ACC unbeaten against, like I already mentioned, Miami or Virginia Tech, who's showing that they're still a really good team and relevant with only one loss in the season. They're still a heck of a team. They got to get past one or two of Virginia Tech and Miami, maybe both. And they're, of course, going to have to this is Florida State and Clemson. Have to get past one of each other first, and they'll have to get past either one or two of Virginia Tech and Miami. So that's going to be tough right there. And then Florida State has to play Florida at the end of the season, which I still believe is going to be tough. And they could lose. And then Clemson has to play South Carolina, who they have not beaten in who knows how many years. So I mean, it's tough, but I mean, there's a chance. But it's a tough road, tougher than some people think. And Patrick Bama 1234 asks, do you think Ohio State has a 99% chance of going unbeaten all the way to the end of the regular season? I don't think so. I'd probably put it like at 60 or so. I mean, I think sooner or later they get beat. They got extremely lucky against Northwestern. Don't even want to go on that game. That call made me so aggravated. Just keep that out of my mind. But I mean, somebody thinks they end up beating them. Maybe Michigan. They already got past the toughest two-game stretch of the season, but then they have to play Michigan and another tough team in the Big Ten championship game. And they have some teams that could shock them and that they're not ready for it. And a team like Indiana could beat them coming out of nowhere and scoring a bunch of points, which I really could see happening because Indiana can throw the football around. Ohio State does not have the best defense in the country. I think if Kane Coulter plays quarterback the whole game Saturday, that Northwestern very easily could have won that game. But no, I'd say 60. I'd be willing to bet some money that Ohio State doesn't go undefeated. Razorback 1995 asks thoughts on the Giants 0-5 start, which is now after yesterday an 0-6 start. Just a lot of things not going their way. Offensive line play has been bad. Wide receiver play hasn't been great aside from Victor Cruz. Defense has been playing horrible. Their defensive line doesn't get any pressure like they have in years past. They can't run the ball. They're dead last in the NFL running the football. So there's a lot of things going on. Eli Manning isn't the best quarterback under pressure. He's one of the best when he's not pressured, but under pressure he's not the best. There's a lot of things they have to rebuild. Some of the players are still saying that they're still going to make the playoffs. I don't see that happening after starting 0-6. But, I mean, there are not that many players away. I mean, as long as you have Eli Manning at quarterback, if you can put some pieces around him, you'll end up being okay. But they got to add some players in that defense, add some better players in the offensive line, whether it be through the draft or free agency, which they should have some money freed up after this offseason. After they're probably not going to re-sign Hakeem Nicks, probably not even trade him to get another draft pick, which what I would do is what I would do if I was in the Giants organization, which is stockpile young talent, which they need to do. They should get a good draft pick and maybe get a couple extra picks with trades and everything, which I would do, like I said. And they're not that far away from coming back. I mean, they're not good, but they're not far away from turning back into a competing team. Okay, the Mega UGA Dogs ask, will the Dogs get a chance to breathe with all these tough SEC opponents? Just to name a few: Missouri, Vandy, Florida, and Gayburn, which he's said it's Auburn. Also, if you had 3 hands, would you be able to play an N64 controller? I don't know. It's going to be tough for Florida, really. I mean, I think they have a chance to lose all these games. I think it's going to be really tough against Missouri. Personally, I actually picked Missouri to win this game. Not only I think Missouri is a really good under-the-radar team, I think that Georgia's coming off 2 really tough games, coming off all the injuries and everything. Todd Gurley might not even play, so I'd keep them without their top 2 wide receivers and the top 2 running backs. So it's going to be real tough. The offensive line for Georgia gave up a ton of 6 sacks, I believe, in the last 2 games. It might even be more than that. And Missouri has a defensive end, I can't remember his name, that has 9 sacks in the season, and they had a ton of sacks against Vanderbilt, made Vanderbilt look bad. So it's going to be tough. I think out of those 4 games you just named off, the Missouri game might actually be the toughest and the most likely they have a chance to lose. I think they can get past Vandy. Florida might be a little tough, but I think they should come out of that game okay. And Auburn, who knows how Auburn will play that week. But I think really out of those last 4 games you just named, Missouri is probably the toughest, really. And if you had 3 hands, would you be able to play an N64 controller? Probably. It'd be weird, but you probably could. Okay. Anthony Blaylock says, I'm going to try to ask 3 questions each week. In your opinion, name the 5 worst 1A college football teams. Let's start with Georgia State, who I always talk about because they're horrendous. You had to go with Southern Miss because they have not won a game in 2 years. Florida International, who beat Southern Miss, but they are god awful. Miami, Ohio, they're extremely bad, and maybe either Temple or Connecticut. Yeah, they're in the AAC, which is a BCS conference, but they're horrible. Just horrible. So one of them two. Temple lost to Idaho. If Idaho would have lost to Temple, I would have definitely said Idaho, but man, that's sad. How much of the FCS games and teams have you watched this season? Honestly, FCS versus FCS matchups, none. I've watched a couple of teams, FBS teams play FCS teams, but I haven't really watched any FCS teams play this season. Just strict FCS versus FCS. Once the playoffs come around, I obviously will, but not any right now. And should Mac Brown be fired at Texas? It's hard to fire a guy like that who's done so much for your program. I think they're gonna back him up into a corner. Really has to resign and not officially be fired. But in all reality, pretty much he's gonna be fired. But it's gonna be called him resigning. Keaton DeBoard asked, will the Bengals make the playoffs? I think they have a good chance. They played tough against the Patriots last week. First game in however many that Tom Brady has thrown a touchdown pass, and they kept him from throwing a touchdown pass. So the defense played well, even though it was a monsoon in Cincinnati. But they got a good team, a good defense, good quarterback in Andy Dalton, good receivers, young team. But I think the AFC North is pretty much down this season, so they have a pretty good shot, I believe, in at least making the playoffs, if not winning the AFC North. Alright, so Patrick Bama 1234 says, do you think the Missouri-Georgia game will be similar to the Maryland-Florida State game? Example, getting blown away. Thanks. No, I really think this is the same thing said about Maryland, so I could be completely wrong. I made myself look like an idiot last week picking Maryland over Florida State. But there was other people that did too, so I'm not the only idiot. But completely honest, I don't think this is going to be the chance. So many different things are going into this game. I think Missouri is looking better than Maryland, obviously, as of right now. It's easy to say after last week, but I still think they do. They match up better. Uh, they have everything going for them. They're undefeated. Georgia's all beat up, coming off of two extremely emotional wins, and they're like I said, they're extremely beat up without a lot of firepower on offense and on defense. And coming off those two emotional losses with a noon game, I forget where it's at. I think it's in Athens, but still, I think Missouri has an extremely good chance, and I believe I actually predicted them to beat Georgia, which I'm fine with. But you never know. This could. I'm not. If Georgia wins big, it's not going to be like Maryland, Florida State. I don't know how that happened. Florida State went off, but Georgia, if they win, I think it'll be close. It'll be close, but it won't be a blowout. I don't think. But I still stick with Missouri. I think Missouri wins this game. Oh God, Mega UGA Dogs ask, have you ever thrown a pick six? What does it feel like? I've never thrown a pick six in a game, an actual live game. Since I played intramurals right now, I threw one pick six, and I threw a couple pick sixes in practices, like at school and stuff. And it sucks. Pick sixes, I hate throwing picks so much. You don't understand. Sometimes when I'm playing football and I throw a pick, I just want to quit. Like, out of all sports related things that can possibly happen, throwing a pick is the worst possible feeling you can do. And throwing a pick in a live game is bad, but throwing a pick six in a live game, I can't even imagine how bad that feels. It makes me just feel like throwing a pick makes me feel like an idiot. Like people, I'm extremely kind of what's the phrase? What's it called? Man, it slipped into my head. I'm extremely self-conscious. That's what I couldn't think of that. I'm extremely self-conscious, and especially when it comes to football. So when I throw a pick, that makes me feel like an idiot. Like everybody else is like, what the frick? This dude sucks. But I'm not that bad at football. I might actually, for some of the intramural games, I might actually get my girlfriend to tape the games and make some highlight videos so you guys can actually see me in action. Because we actually start full field season this upcoming week. So, yeah. So hopefully I won't put any picks in there. And Mega UGA Dogs also asked, what was the blown call with Northwestern Ohio State? Okay, Northwestern was going down the field to try to potentially score the game-winning touchdown and win the game, or whatever it was. But they were going down the field to score and to take the lead. And there was about a minute left, 2 minutes left, I can't remember. 4th and 1, Kane Coulter called a QB sneak, and it was a short 4th and 1. And he drops the snap, but picks it back up, and he fell over the first down marker, and easily, his whole body was over the first down marker. And if you go back and watch the replay, the ref is coming in to mark the ball, and it's going to be a first down with where he's coming in at. But a Northwestern player gets in his way, and he has to come around the Northwestern player so he doesn't run into him. But when he does that, he doesn't compensate for what he ran in with. So he was going into market, but he had to move forward and never went back. So he came in about 2 or 3 yards short of where he was actually spotting the ball. When they went back to replay it, they only had the replay from one angle, and that's where you couldn't see Kane Coulter. And on the other side, if they had a replay, you could have clearly seen his 1 yard over at least a yard over the first down marker, his whole body. And you can see from a back replay that his whole body's over the first down marker, which it wasn't a good angle, but if you use logic, you can tell his whole body's over the first down marker. And I mean that they might not have scored, but they would have been on the plus side of the field. And I think they were at the 40 then, and they could. I mean, the way they're moving the ball, they could have easily scored. But that's a bunch of what ifs. Yummy Milk 100 says, I know you are an Alabama fan, but what do you think of Arkansas this year? Hey, you got to give Arkansas a lot of credit. Coming into the season, I thought this was going to be a bad year for Arkansas, but they're really battling. They're playing a lot better than I thought they were, transitioning in the Brett Bielema style of play. They've been a throw the ball, air raid. I'm not sure if you call it an air raid, but more passing, efficient offense past couple seasons with Matt Mallett and Tyler Wilson. And then you bring in this guy, Brett Bielema, who's a big stickler for defense and pounding the football 30, 40 times a game. And with the players they have, the personnel, I think it was going to work, and they're competing this year. Their defense is playing a lot better. Alex Collins has been a huge addition, one of the best running backs in the SEC, especially freshman. Might actually be top 5 overall running backs in the SEC right now. He's a man. But they're looking a lot better than I thought. I thought they were in for like a 3-win season, but they're competitive. Played well against A&M. Did lose to Rutgers in a heartbreaker, but that's the second straight year, so it's not like they got any worse. But they're like overall they're a lot better than what I thought they were going to be. Spotown Twig says thoughts on the Washington State flag being flown in Seattle this weekend on College game day. I mean, hey, it's awesome. I mean, Washington State's got to be at every game day. It's a tradition. It's a great exposure for Washington State, and it's going to be an even better exposure for Washington State when they get even better and better as Mike Leach's tenure goes on. So I think eventually he's going to turn Washington State. Might take a couple years, but he's going to turn Washington State into a competitor in the Pac-12. I mean, they're better right now. They're no rollover now. They compete in games. They're not what they were 3-4 years ago. And Spotown Twigs asked, why is Sean Mannion so underrated? He's thrown 21 touchdowns and over 2,000 yards passing. I think I've actually touched on this in a couple of my videos. I was looking up, I was writing an article on for our newspaper, about the top 5 candidates for the Heisman thus far in the season. And I was looking through some stats, and Sean Mannion's thrown, he was right, 21 touchdown passes through 6 weeks. And this was prior to last week. And over 2,000 yards passing already. I think it's to 2 interceptions he's thrown. That's ridiculous. Oregon State has the number 1 passing offense in the country. The running game hasn't been great, hence why they've really relied on Sean Mannion. But hey, if my quarterback was playing as well as he was, I would throw the ball as many times as they do too. I mean, they're really good offense. The defense, I mean, I think it's gone kind of under the radar because if they don't lose to Eastern Washington week 1, they're top 15 in the polls right now. But I mean, once they beat some quality teams in the Pac-12, I think it'll start to get a little bit more national recognition as the stats increase. If he can stay on the pace that he is, because that's absolutely insane. I think he's on pace for 40-something touchdown passes, maybe in 50 range. I'm not sure, but he's playing out of his mind. And hopefully, I think if I made a top 10 in the Heisman candidate poll right now, I'd have him somewhere from 5 to 10. Because he's just playing out of his mind. He is he is the reason Oregon State's still competitive right now, because he's thrown the ball extremely well. And if he can get a game nationally televised, which I think eventually Oregon State has to be nationally televised, and he plays in front of the country and plays as well, his stock will shoot up the roof. And I really don't know the actual answer to your question, why is he so underrated. I don't know why his team isn't picking up. And last question, Buckeye fan 2013 says, or asks, what do you think, or who do you think wins the Heisman next year? That's a tough question, because you don't know who actually is leaving for the NFL draft. You don't know who is going to get hurt, who's going to transfer. Most importantly, who's going to leave for the NFL draft. But for true sophomores and guys who I believe will come back, TJ Yeldon, I mean, he pops up out of the head, obviously. Todd Gurley, he'll be a junior. A lot of guys are leaving, and you got to remember that. A lot of people that are in the Heisman hunt this season aren't coming back like they were from a season ago. They're all gone. The A.J. McCarron, the Aaron Murray, Teddy Bridgewater, Javion Clowney, and the list keeps going on and on. Marcus Mariota's probably gone. They're all going to be gone. So the Heisman race next season is going to be completely wide open. It might be the year that finally, since the Mark Ingram season, that a running back or a wide receiver could possibly, and maybe a defensive player could win the Heisman. Because there's just not that many top name guys that are expected to come back next season. Another quarterback that I do think of is Bryce Petty from Baylor. I believe he'll be coming back next season. That man is putting up some insane numbers, and if he can keep those stats up, oh man, that's gonna be one good quarterback, and he could be in the Heisman race as early as this season. He's in my, I think he's my number 6 guy right now. I might after this week creep into number 5, see how he can play this week against Kansas. I think they play Kansas State, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, while I check this, that's about it, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Please leave a like if you did, and subscribe to my channel. If you haven't already, leave a question in the comment section below so you can be featured in next week's episode. And yes, they do actually play Kansas State. Going into the Oklahoma game, they will, knock on wood, more than likely be 7-0. So yeah, 7-0. They'll have wins over Wofford, Buffalo, Louisiana Monroe, West Virginia, Kansas State, which I expect to be a big win, Iowa State, big win, and Kansas, big win. So a 7-0 Baylor team, which would be maybe the bearing of some teams losing top 10 in the country, going up against the Oklahoma team, which could be undefeated. That will be an extremely good matchup. And if I'm not mistaken, that's actually on Thursday night. So that will be an awesome game. And then they could finish the season undefeated. The toughest task. If they can beat Oklahoma, if Baylor could beat Oklahoma, they could go undefeated. I really do think they could, and that would be awesome. But that's about it, guys. Hope you enjoyed. 25 minutes long. Sorry, you asked all the questions, I answered them. But anyways, that's it. Catch you guys later. Roll Tide, go Sox, go Titans to you. Until next time, peace.